Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. So, um, I want to state something right quick. When I was at my last position, well, my second to last position, but my last job in which I lived with my wife, I busted my rear end to make English an easy language to learn for students. Now, if they did not want to learn it, they would not, and many did not. But if they wanted to learn English, it was easy. I said to my students, if you focus and you pay attention to what I'm teaching you, this will get easy. I don't think that all of them believed me. Some did, some did not. What I can tell you is that my administrators knew this, my colleagues knew this, other teachers knew this. They knew that I was serious about making English an easy language to learn. The head of the English department, a Jordanian, struck me as a man that didn't really like me very much, but he did know I was trying to do my job. I was surprised when I found out that my actual boss from my own company was no longer friends with the head of the English department. He lied to the head of the English department and told him that I was being transferred to Riyadh, which happened months later, but not at that time that he said it. He did this because he wanted to save money. He was planning to get rid of my wife and me. He was intercepted on his way to file the paperwork to get rid of my wife. Someone told him they don't have another job in Riyadh. The one that told him this did not know that he already said this about me. Neither my employer nor the university that was a client of my employer was interested in splitting up a married couple, having us live in different locations. It worked out this way. That was unfortunate for me and for my wife. Now, the company wound up losing the contract, and my wife, still working for that same company, was just informed that they're just waiting on the official announcement, but they ain't getting a contract. This will free my wife up sooner than we expected for her to leave and come join me. As soon as she sells the furniture in the old city, she's done, she comes and joins me. I actually told her, you know what? You can take time, and when you sell the furniture, then you can use some of that. Just send it to me. I'll get tickets and come see you on my off time, or you, if you're free to travel, you come see me. The company did wrong, and now I work and I make a bit more money. Now I still have to use a lot of it to take care of the business I have in Asia, but I work and I take care, but I get more. And about 800 US more. I live in a better climate, and now I'm not in that small town, nor am I in Riyadh even. There's more. I point this out to say that you're going through something similar. And one of the things that made this bearable was that my wife never blamed me. Now, I do irritate some of the administrators, or I did irritate administrators at my old company, because I did not let students cheat. And officially, you're not supposed to, but they had this silent understanding. Let them cheat. They're who they are. They're better wins. Let them cheat. It's not going to change anything if we stop them. They'll just turn and cheat on the next test. They'll have to take it over and they'll cheat again, but they're not going to change. Well, not only did the widespread attitudes towards cheating change altogether, but something else too. My wife never blamed me when I was not included in the old position anymore. She did not hold this against me because it wasn't something I did wrong. That is important. She did not blame me. I say this because you likewise are dealing with something wherein you might be blamed, but it's not you. And I've told you many times that a lot of this is not your fault. And there's one thing that you guys really need to apply this to so you can understand. So that you don't forget. And so that you pass this on to the next generation of young brothers and spare them a certain amount of heartache that they should not have to deal with and face. The way that you've been treated is not your fault, but I want you gentlemen to realize that if you ain't smashing, that's not your fault. Now, I'm not going to promote you fornicating anyway, but the thing is that if you are not being sought after to smash, that is not your fault. Most guys are not sought out for that, and I want you to know that if you are not being sought out for that, it only makes you normal. Now, when you're growing up, it might be guys that sit up and talk about who you ain't smashing and how much you ain't smashing, and it means something wrong with you. But this is what really happens. The ladies want this to continue, and when you guys grow up and you stop saying this to each other, and you stop hearing this from each other, the women jump in at that same age and start saying this, and that's why. And they love to use this against guys that are red pill aware and explain it. Well, it's because of who you can't smash and who ain't screwing you. If I tell you about how Tiffany Haddish now regrets being single because she's real single now, and she done chased Common off, and she knows Common can find somebody younger and finer than her. After all he tried to stay with her, then the response is going to be from some hyena Western bitch. Well, you know, you just mad because you can't pull no Tiffany Haddish. Most men can't. And I'm not saying that to put Tiffany Haddish up there. You take away her fame and her money, and she's a regular working woman at a job somewhere that she don't like. Most of you still can't pull her when she's young. I'm not even looking for young women. When the women realize that I don't look for young broads, then they start wanting me to date someone younger. You ever notice? It's war, gentlemen. And one of the things I want you to know about this war is that they will take over the immature, childish job of telling you what you ain't getting and who you ain't getting and how much you ain't getting. They will take that over from you. They'll take that over from the teenage boy you used to be, or the teenage boy that used to tell you when you were a teenager what you ain't getting. Why do they take that job over? They don't want you to understand that it ain't your fault. They want to cloud the part of you that would one day come to realize that it ain't your fault. When I told you it ain't your fault, I was covering that as well. And certain things began to change, and now the tables are turning. They're turning for my age group because we're getting older. And because of what we've done smartly and intelligently, the tables are turning for the young bros too. Because now they're at least able to see through the games that these young chicks want to play on them. And some of these young chicks are starting to stand up and make songs now talking about some, I cook, I clean, I smash, I fuck the shuck up. And now what some of these young guys are beginning to do is start to say, okay, now go get in shape too. Look good when you do it. See, it's important that this be known. We need to tell some of these younger brothers, though, because from what I understand, there's an awareness, an awakening. But from what some of you point out, there's still not enough of one. You see, feminism still is at the forefront because women that don't identify themselves as feminists are still feminist and misandrist. The red pill and black pill awareness are not enough because guys that don't say that they're red pill aware are not red pill aware. You still got dudes in high school that think that societies really don't need men. That's not true. You got guys that really believe that women are perfectly happy growing old and living without them, and they're not. But they still think that as easy as it is, as easy as they think it is for women to live without men their whole lives, that it's still their fault if they ain't smashing. No, it ain't. Someone asked a question earlier in a group in which I sit. Who's worse, the incel or the single mom? And my answer had to be the single mom because she had a choice. The incel, by definition of the word involuntary at the front of incel, does not have a choice. Nothing to blame him for. And I realize, you know what dudes need to hear this. If you ain't getting none, it ain't your fault. Now, some dudes, they're the stereotype. Living in mom's basement, neckbeard, doing nothing but playing video games all day, socially awkward. All the time. About everything. But they know this. And you know what? Their lack of a social life might be their fault, but but not smashing still ain't their fault because we already know what the deal is. You could take a guy like that and he's just reserved. You can take a guy who's got muscles and everything else, but he's just reserved and he don't start no mess. And when the women realize that as big as he is, he's peaceful, he ain't nothing no more. My wife even asked a question while she was on this trip visiting. It was about the stares. She said, here on this coast, they don't stare at us when we're out in public. And she said they got my attention. She said, they don't even stare at you. Somehow we got into the topic of when I was growing up. She said that she asked me if they hit on me when I was growing up. And I said, are you talking about growing up back on the Gulf Coast? No. They didn't. I told her that, unattractive girls would flirt a little bit, but, attractive chicks rarely did. It was rare. And she said, oh, so you pulled ugly girls growing up? And I told her, no, that changed after I started fighting. I let her know. I said, what it boiled down to was that, anybody could have a crush. They could look any kind of way and have a crush. But the fine chicks weren't going to admit it until I started getting violent with my own race. And that's when she said, it sounds to me like them Gulf Coast women are nasty and barbaric, really uncivilized. And I had to tell her, when I was growing up, they were. There was a certain level of conservatism in the culture, but when it came to how they judged men, yeah, absolutely. She said it must have gotten worse. And I was just about to tell her that's exactly why Simba was not allowed to select from the United States, especially the Gulf Coast, and why he went to where he did. And you can only find out where he went on Patreon. I want this to be understood by you all and remembered. It ain't your fault includes the sex you ain't having. That ain't your fault. And when guys stop saying this in maturity, that's why the chicks start jumping up and saying it. You say anything they don't like, that you ain't getting none. That's why you ain't getting none. It's all they want to point like it's your fault. And then what you do though, and I'm gonna tell you, let these young cats know this in person. But you also need to tell these young cats the following two things. Number one, when a chick says this, number three things actually. Number one, when they get older and mature and guys stop saying it, the chicks are going to start. Number two, the response to these chicks is, well, bitch, when was the last time you walked up to a man and spit game to him? Did something to convince him to pick you over others? And I'm not talking about celebrities that didn't see you because the chances were too slim. I'm talking about, okay, we can say high value men, but not celebrities. When was the last time you did this for a guy that has normal luck and outcomes, but made abnormal efforts and exercised abnormal self-discipline in his life? When was the last time you did that? Shot your shot. You didn't. And if you did, when was the last time you had to spit any game and try to convince a man? Now, third thing to tell these young brothers is that the women want them to think their whole lives that the sex they ain't having is their fault. And to never realize it just makes them normal. And if you don't believe me, inject a simp with some truth serum and ask them how often they smash and how attractive these ladies are, and it's dismal, and they're simps. It's dismal for them because they don't get respected. They're approved of and fake validated by the broads in front of us, but they don't get respected. And we already know when Western chicks can't respect you, when women can't respect you, they can't lay with you. But Western women can't respect nobody. So let these young brothers know that these ladies want these young men to think when they're adults and when they're mature that the sex they ain't having is their fault. When young brothers are liberated from this mindset before they're even adults, before it's going to be snuck upon them, then these young brothers can be freed from a lot of anxiety. And they can understand that while it's worth it to work for the things in life that you like, that if you still wind up by yourself, that ain't your fault. And whereas if the ladies wind up by themselves, it is their fault because they had options. A lot of men, adult men, don't want to admit to the options that they don't have because they still think that's their fault. It's not, bruh. It ain't nothing for you to worry about. Half the time when chicks dig you because of the nigga you're not, they're all in on a conspiracy to make sure that the quality you can get is dismal. One, they think you deserve it because there is an element of misandry in it. And two, it makes their job easier. They want a bunch of Russell Wilsons. And it shows you what his father was not allowed to say in the house. Hell, his mom was not happy, I don't think. But then again, even if his mom was not happy with his choice, which is fine, that means that it was his mother's job to pull him over to the side as a youngin'. Instead of just preaching the gospel, it was a job to say to him, now listen, this is what women are going to actually do in real life even in the church. Hell, his first wife cheated. And he did the right thing. He left her. Sierra still can't forgive him. Well, can't respect him. She sees him as the dude on whom you cheat. She just understands, well, he did leave his last bitch for that. So if she outright cheats, he gonna leave her if he finds out. Now, I do think Sierra's situation is a bit different based on some things that BGS knows. I do think so. I don't know if she really wants to cheat on him with someone else. I do think she wants the attention, and I don't respect her for that. But yeah, you are not being told that it's not your fault, and there's a reason for that. You're not even being told about this particular meaning over which, over your heads, a lot of it went. This particular meaning of that went over your heads, and I understand that. But you know what? There's a reason. Know it anyway. And turn and tell these young brothers what I told you. Thank you for listening as always. I hope this benefits you in real life. Black heart, black mind, black out, assalamu alaikum, black heterosexual, non-select male power because they don't like it. Black patriarchy until extinction of judgment day. And thank you for flying again with us here on Jet Black Airways, where jet black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with us until the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender, justice, forever.